Hey there, and welcome to Tales by June, where hearts break, heal, and sometimes seek revenge. Let's begin today's story.
I always believed that loyalty would protect me from heartbreak, that if I gave my best to my job, my friendships, my relationship, then life would reward me with peace, with love, with something fair. But life isn't fair, and loyalty means nothing to people who only know how to take. My name is Maya, and I'm the kind of woman who shows up early, stays late, double-checks every document, and remembers everyone's birthday with a handwritten card. Not because anyone asked me to, but because I believed in giving more than I received. And for a while, I thought that made me special, respected, even loved. But mostly, it just made me invisible. In the marketing department 3 floors up, where the lights always seemed warmer and laughter echoed louder, there was Sam, the kind of man who walked like he owned the moment, who cracked jokes in board meetings and made interns feel like executives. And somehow, one quiet Thursday afternoon, when the office was nearly empty and I was buried in end-of-quarter reports, he walked into my cubicle with a coffee and said, "You always work this hard, or is today special?" And I looked up, startled, because no one had ever brought me coffee before. Not unsolicited, not with my name spelled correctly on the cup, and I remember blinking, confused, before I muttered, "Just tying up some numbers." And he sat on the edge of my desk like he belonged there, like we were old friends. And from that moment on, he never stopped making me feel like I was worth noticing. Lunches turned into walks, meetings turned into inside jokes, and before long, I was riding shotgun in his car on weekends, watching him make pancakes in my kitchen, and learning the way he said my name in his sleep, soft and low like a promise. I had never been loved like that before. And when he proposed with a quiet, trembling, "Marry me?" in my living room while our favorite playlist hummed in the background, I said yes with every cell in my body. Because how could I not? We announced it at work the following week, and people clapped and smiled. And someone said, "Power couple in the making." I laughed, a little shy, a little overwhelmed. But Ava was the loudest cheerleader of them all. Ava, my best friend since college, who once lent me her coat in a snowstorm and let me cry on her shoulder after my father's funeral, who taught me how to curl my hair and talked me into wearing red lipstick, even when I was scared. It was Ava who helped Sam pick the ring. Ava, who threw herself into wedding planning with Pinterest boards and cake tastings and a binder color-coded by category. And I never suspected a thing, because betrayal doesn't arrive with a warning label. It comes dressed as love, as laughter, as loyalty. The day I found out was a Tuesday, gray and unremarkable, except for the fact that I had left my phone charger at the office and rushed back after dinner, hoping to grab it before security locked up. My heels echoed on the marble floors, the place mostly dark except for a few lights left on near the creative wing, and I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. I wasn't even trying to look. But as I passed the glass-walled conference room, I saw them. Sam and Ava, standing far too close, her hand on his chest, his fingers brushing her hip, and then they kissed. Not a drunk, accidental kiss, but a slow, familiar one. Like this wasn't the first time. I froze, breath caught in my throat like a fishhook, watching my future collapse in the span of 5 seconds. But they didn't see me, and I didn't move. I just turned and walked out, my charger forgotten, my heart silent and burning. And that night, as Sam lay beside me in our bed, arm casually slung across my waist, I stared at the ceiling and whispered, "I love you." Just to hear what it felt like to lie with the same ease they did. From that moment on, I changed. Not with fire or fury, but with ice, with calculation and silence, and the kind of quiet resolve that terrifies the guilty, because I knew that screaming would make me look hysterical, and crying would make me look weak, and confronting them would only give them the chance to twist the knife while pretending it was an accident. So I smiled and kissed him good morning, and let Ava braid my hair for the bridal shower, all while I became a collector of secrets. I collected everything. Screenshots, emails, hotel receipts tucked into his jacket pocket, a lipstick-stained napkin in Ava's handwriting that said, "Same time next week?" Same time next week? And I didn't just save them. I organized them. I timestamped them. I built a digital folder labeled Truth and backed it up in 3 places because I wasn't going to expose them with just emotion. I wanted precision, proof, undeniable shame. Over the weeks, they grew bolder, not realizing I knew. And the betrayal deepened, not just because they lied, but because they played pretend so well. Ava gushing over dress fittings and Sam texting me heart emojis while apparently still sneaking away with her. And every moment they faked, every compliment they gave me, became fuel for my fire. I started paying attention to the moments in between. The way he smiled at his phone when he thought I wasn't looking. How Ava suddenly had new jewelry she claimed was a brand gift. How Sam grew more distant when I mentioned anything real, like mortgage paperwork or guest lists. And I fed their lies back to them, gently, knowingly, like poison in sweet tea, waiting for the right time to strike. I canceled the wedding venue without telling them, told the caterer there'd been a death in the family, and booked a separate venue of my own. Not for a wedding, but for a reckoning. A rooftop terrace owned by a client who owed me a favor and who promised me total discretion. Then I planned an engagement celebration. Ava offered to help organize, thinking she'd get more time with Sam under the guise of helping her best friend. And I agreed, because I wanted her involved. I wanted her front and center when the curtain came down. Meanwhile, I fed small leaks to Ava's sponsors. Nothing too overt, just enough to stir questions. Screenshots of her making fun of her followers in group chats, joking about lying in her product reviews, images that contradicted her brand's ethical persona. And I watched, amused, as she scrambled to control her narrative, unaware that the real storm was still coming. Sam, for his part, remained blissfully clueless, still calling me Angel while hiding hotel keys in his gym bag, still taking me to brunch and then sneaking off to run errands that led to Ava's apartment. But I let him think he was smart, because I needed him arrogant and unprepared. The night of the party arrived, a warm evening under city lights, and everyone came. Coworkers, family, friends, smiling and dressed up, holding glasses of champagne and telling us how beautiful we looked together. And I played the part, wore a floor-length wine-red dress, sleek hair, calm eyes, and when Sam kissed my cheek and Ava hugged me with her usual forced enthusiasm, I smiled because I had never felt more powerful in my life. I waited until the speeches began, until the music softened and the clinking of glasses gave way to silence. And then I took the microphone and said, "Thank you all for being here to celebrate love. But tonight, I want to tell you a story about what love is not." And with that, I turned to the screen behind me and cued the video I had prepared. 5 minutes of footage that began with a soft piano track and a montage of Sam and me through the years, laughing, holding hands, the proposal. Before cutting sharply to the evidence, texts between him and Ava, screen recordings of late-night chats, hotel booking confirmations, candid photos of them together, Ava whispering, "She'll never find out," into his ear while he laughed, and the room turned to ice. Someone gasped, someone else said, "Oh my God," and then silence, thick and electric, as the music stopped and the last image lingered on screen. Ava and Sam in bed, asleep, his arm wrapped around her waist, time-stamped 3 weeks after he proposed to me. Ava's face drained of color, her mouth opened but no words came out, while Sam's jaw clenched as he muttered, "What the hell is this?" And I replied, calmly, "This is your legacy." He lunged toward the laptop, but someone held him back. My cousin, a quiet IT guy who had helped me stitch the footage together, and Ava stammered, "Maya, please, this isn't what it looks like." And I turned to her, voice steady as steel, and said, "No, because it looks like betrayal. It looks like you smiling in my face while screwing the man I loved. It looks like every lie you fed me while pretending to fix my veil." Someone in the whispered, "Damn," and another started recording with their phone, and I let everyone record, because if Ava wanted attention, she'd get it. And if Sam wanted to be admired, he could be admired as the man who cheated on his fiancée with her best friend and got caught in 4K. He tried to speak again, but I raised a hand and said, "Don't. You had months to tell the truth. You chose silence. So now I speak." And then I walked off the stage, out of the spotlight, down the stairs with every eye in the room following me, but I didn't look back. Behind me, chaos erupted. Ava crying, Sam shouting, my mother slapping her hand over her mouth in shock, my boss nodding slowly as if connecting dots in retrospect, and I walked out into the night air, into the street, into a version of myself I didn't know existed, the one who knew her worth. I didn't answer Sam's calls or texts for days, and when he finally showed up at my apartment, desperate and humiliated, I opened the door just wide enough to let him see me standing calm and unbroken. And he begged, "Maya, please, we can fix this." I made a terrible mistake. Ava was a moment of weakness. But I shook my head and said, "A moment of weakness? You destroyed the only person who trusted you, the person who believed in your promises." And his eyes filled with tears. But I didn't soften, because I had learned the difference between sorrow and genuine remorse. And his tears were just the last act of a badly written play. Ava, meanwhile, faced public disgrace. Her social media followers evaporated overnight as sponsors dropped her one by one, her carefully constructed influencer image shattered by the evidence I shared anonymously to the press. And when she called me, voice trembling, begging for forgiveness and a chance to explain, I hung up, realizing that forgiveness was a luxury I didn't owe her. At work, I found a surprising strength as colleagues who once overlooked me started treating me with respect, impressed not just by my professionalism, but by how I handled my personal pain with dignity and strategy. And a rival firm headhunted me, offering a senior director role with more money, more influence, and a promise that I would never have to hide in the background again. I accepted, moved into a new apartment flooded with sunlight and peace, and started building a new life on my own terms. Months later, at a leadership conference where I was the keynote speaker, I shared my story without naming names, but with enough honesty to inspire others who had been betrayed, abandoned, or broken. And afterward, a man with kind eyes and a gentle smile approached me, introducing himself as Drew, a CEO who admired my courage. And as we talked, I felt something new. Not desperation, but possibility. Not need, but hope. I looked at Drew and realized that I didn't need someone to complete me, because I had already completed myself through fire and heartbreak. And in that moment, I wasn't the woman who had been cheated on or betrayed. I was Maya reborn, unstoppable and whole. And as the crowd applauded around us, I smiled quietly to myself, knowing that revenge had not been my victory, but my self-respect was. And that was a triumph no one could ever take away. I had turned pain into power, lies into truth, and betrayal into the foundation of a life I owned. This was my story, my voice, my future, and it was just beginning.